Hi, I'm Ryan Manchee with Basis Technologies. We're talking marketing, innovation, and advertising inspiration, and I'm joined by Bob Sherwin of Wayfair, CMO. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Great to be here, Ryan.
Yeah, excited to chat with you. Little known Wayfair, as we were talking about it, it's like grown so big. I feel like everybody knows Wayfair, especially I feel like over the last several years. Similar boat as me, where it's like, oh, here's a room, here's a bathroom, I want to remodel. It's like, where are we going to go? Go to Wayfair. Easy, get everything we need. So. I think one of the interesting things as CMO, obviously return on investment, return on ad spend, incredibly important. Looking at that, I know y'all are very data driven, but also to drive more awareness of the company and all the different groups within the company, all the different capabilities, everything that you all offer, it is about driving awareness. It is about driving brand. How do you think about brand building and driving awareness and factor that in from an ROI perspective?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? And we put a lot of thinking into this and as much math into it as we can as well. We think if we do a great job as marketers, right, we are going to build a brand, and not just for people to be aware of Wayfair and then go to Google when they are in market again, but to be aware of Wayfair and have Wayfair be their preferred destination so they come straight to our site every time, right? So I think people intuitively understand that like if we do a great job at marketing, we don't need to market as much because it'll just be where people start their journey, whether that's trying to get inspiration for a project they want to do but not exactly sure what it is, or if they know exactly what they need, right, that we're still the most frictionless place and best place to support them. However, more specifically to your question, how do we think about the ROI of brand building? So that's kind of the long-term strategic, hard to measure. But most of the brand building activities we do, we still try to measure, right? So we know that it'll lift all boats over time because it'll generate that like top of mind awareness and people will start with us. But even our television advertising, we still measure as best as we can to ensure we know what the ROI is we're giving, and we have certain guardrails, right? We may be a bit more forgiving on the return that we require from TV versus something like search marketing. We may require search marketing to pay back much faster than TV, but we still set it to a certain threshold.
Yeah.
The difference being that TV ad, we can tell a much richer story. And what we know and what we've seen is that telling that rich story on TV actually lifts all boats because it makes someone more prone to click on a search marketing ad because they're now a bit more familiar with the brand because they saw a great ad showing on television, or they got a catalog in the mail from Wayfair that kind of told our story. And then when they are in market 3 months later and they see Wayfair as an option on Google Shopping, their propensity to click on Wayfair is much higher versus a brand that they've never heard of.
Gotcha. And is there like direct attribution that you've got there, or just know that it's providing that halo effect and that eventually it will?
There's direct attribution.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of lift studies, and we, where we can get impression data. Mm-hmm. We basically measure it in 3 or 4 different ways, all triangulating around what we believe is the actual hard ROI that any channel, frankly, is driving.
That's incredible. And it kind of goes into my next question. So, Wayfair as a company, I mean, obviously, heavily e-com. I know we're going to talk a little bit about the kind of like in-store experience, but y'all sit on a huge amount of data. You've got great insights into those buying behaviors, those search interests like you talked about, and your marketing tech stack is very sophisticated, what you all built and how you partner with folks. What is your approach and your team's approach to actually evaluating those new and even those current solutions that you have to make sure that you're really maximizing the impact that you're looking to achieve?
Yeah, great. So it's kind of like the age-old like build versus buy discussion or decision. So I think first you start with, even before that, is saying what is the problem that this technology would solve, or what is the opportunity that it could really help exploit, right? Is that opportunity big, small, right? Is it credible? Because sometimes what I'm getting at is sometimes there are shiny objects, right? That there's this new thing, and I think some of the some augmented reality or virtual reality, like really cool, but is it big now? Is that where we want to place our bets? Because you only have a finite amount of like mental bandwidth and team capacity and budget capacity. Even if you're outsourcing it, there's still integrations that are required. There's still someone that's going to need to manage it
Sure.
and evaluate the ROI. So that's why the first step is saying, hey, is this really important? Is this something we need to go after? If it is, then you come to that build versus buy decision, right? And it's not just about evaluating, can we build it? It's, should we build it, or is it commoditized and there's a great offering out there that we can just buy off the shelf? And if so, what is the integration? And let's be really thorough in thinking about, if we buy it, is it going to be easy and we can, or we actually have to have multiple engineers maintaining it? And so those are all, some of, or those aren't all of them, but those are a number of the factors that go into our decisions on if we want to do this new innovative thing, and then should we do it ourselves or should we work with a partner? But the answer is never, it's not one size fits all. It's very nuanced by situation. Yeah. We try to be thoughtful, and occasionally we revisit those old decisions. There's times we built something in-house and then we decide, you know what, maintaining this is too costly. Now there's 3 great vendors that'll do it. Let's outsource it. Or vice versa. There was something that we had a partner doing and their tech is atrophying and we built some other capabilities that we could bolt this on. Let's now take it in-house. And so that's, I think, a very frequent set of discussions that we're having with our technology partners in marketing.
That's great. And so I feel like a really smart approach to how more companies should probably think about their marketing innovation to be able to apply that. So that's awesome. And I think an area off of that to kind of dig into, just knowing from my own personal experience from like that buying journey, you can get a level of personalization there. And I think y'all do a pretty good job at that. I'd love for you to talk about how personalization plays a role in your marketing strategy, both for the new, the prospective customers. What does that look like?
Yeah, we try to, we think about that a lot. And the way I generally think about it is the role of personalization is really to remove friction,
sure,
right, from that customer's journey. Whether they're, really early in the funnel, like really high up, how do we help make our catalog a little less daunting? How do we make sure that if they're in market to redo their living room, that they're aware of all the categories and class of products that we sell, and that we can, point them towards our different styles that they can buy from Wayfair, right? Just make it easy for them to get the right inspiration and be aware of everything we can do to help them. If they're getting stuck, how do we make it very obvious to them that we have teams of people that they can hop on the phone with to help them through that really, maybe it's a technical decision on buying the right oven for their kitchen, right? What's the difference between gas and electric oven? In the city I live in, is what are the regulations? We have people that can help them over the phone. So I view that as a form of personalization. We're not going to force you to get on the phone because some people like to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And we want to have the product information all right there on site or in our app. But if they do want help, we want to not hide our phone number. We want to make it easy for them to get on the phone and get help as well. So I actually define personalization quite broadly. It's not just technical personalization on showing people product recommendations. It's really about meeting customers where they are and giving them the optionality, whether they want to, again, engage with us on our app or over the phone or over email. That's all. We try to meet the customer where they are and allow them to shop how they want to shop.
I love that. And I like that idea of just like removing the friction there, and also understanding everybody's at a different spot, what their comfort level is with different technologies. Even in 2023, right? People are thinking about things in a different way, and kind of leading into that, Wayfair has expanded to in-store experiences, and I feel like that kind of makes sense along the same kind of like thinking that you were just talking about. Was that really the motivation there? And I guess, can you talk about how that's going and that kind of expansion from that e-com side to actual physical brick and mortar stores?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so we have now launched 4 different stores, 3 in the Boston market and then 1 in the Chicago area. These are for our specialty brands. So we have 2 all modern stores and now 2 Joss & Main stores. In our first Wayfair store, that's our mass market brand, which will be a very large store. That's opening in Wilmette, Illinois, so a suburb, very close suburb of Chicago, in early 2024. And the rationale behind all of that is along similar lines of thinking. We want to remove friction from the process of building out the home of your dreams. And we've been trying to remove friction since Wayfair started 20 years ago, essentially. And the Wayfair brand launched 10 years ago. We've been trying to remove friction ever since. And we've done that through great product information, great imagery. We have a view and room feature on site. But the one thing we could never remove friction from is people want to touch and feel the product before they buy it. And one thing we also know is that something like 80 to 85 cents on every dollar spent in our category is spent in brick and mortar stores, or they at least influence the journey. So for us, a very natural evolution of our brand and how we meet the customers where they are is brick and mortar.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're really excited to be where we are in that journey, where we have a very strong team that is driving this agenda with a lot of physical retail experience. We now have 4 stores live, and so now we have a feedback loop.
Yeah.
And that's all part of, again, removing friction, bringing the best of our brand to the physical realm, allowing people to not only experience the touch and feel of our products, but to also engage with our sales teams in person. Something that a lot of customers never get a chance to experience because they don't think of it. They're on an app or on a website. They don't think about talking to our teams. When they're in store, it's a little less friction also to ask a quick question, and they'll see that, hey, these folks are very knowledgeable and they're not pushy, right? They're just trying to help that customer make the right decision for them.
It's amazing. I love that. Just a smart way to expand, and I feel like be able to capture more of that market as well. You'd mentioned something before about maybe some of like the VR or mixed reality experiences, and I think at least my own kind of experience has been sometimes there's a novelty to it, but sometimes those can create more friction. I feel like in the right setting. I'm interested maybe your take on that, or maybe some of these like new emerging technologies that are out there. Do you feel like mixed reality, is it the most overblown kind of emerging thing, or do you feel like there's real opportunity as Wayfair thinks about it to be able to include?
Yeah. I think there is real opportunity there. However, how big that is today is probably different than a lot of people believe. I think it's a fairly small opportunity today, but will be very big over time.
Sure.
And the reason I say that is I think mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality all requires mass adoption to be really big. It requires a lot of people to want to engage with their phone in that way or put on a headset. And I think what I've realized, and I think a lot of people have, is the broader society is pretty slow to adopt new technology until there's just a huge use case that makes it just like inevitable that you're going to want to do that. And it's not there yet. Whereas I think, right, one of the big themes, right, in any newspaper you read is AI, where that to me is a big deal. And I think right now, because it actually doesn't require mass adoption, right? Consumers will be engaging with AI outputs whether they choose to or not, right? It's just there. Whereas again, augmented reality requires you to use that feature within an app. Virtual reality requires you to either buy or borrow a headset and then put that on your head, something that people haven't done before. But to engage with AI content, AI generated content, or AI influenced content, or AI influenced creative, the consumer doesn't necessarily know the difference, right?
Sure.
They don't have to change their own behaviors up front. So that's why I think that is a bigger deal in terms of mass adoption and reach.
Absolutely. Switching gears a little bit, I guess maybe not too much. You think about the reach. When I think about Wayfair, it's a company. You've got those different brands. There's different audiences, but in general, anybody can and should be shopping at Wayfair, right? If you're looking for anything. I mean, that's what I believe. And so I guess thinking about that and knowing that diversity, equity, inclusion, that is a priority. It's not just a buzzword. Can you talk about how Wayfair has embraced that and how you all have really applied that and made that part of your marketing, whether it's the talent, whether it's the partners you work with, whether it's suppliers, anything like that? I'm very curious how y'all have taken that approach.
Yeah, we think about it a lot, and we have been for a long time. I think in terms of marketing and the creative assets, what we think about a lot of is really we formalize kind of our rules around how we think about talent we're showing in ads, how we think of the homes we're showing. We are a mass market brand, so we really our customer base looks a lot like the markets we work in or our offering sits in. So in the US, our audience demographically and racially and age-wise looks very much like just the general demographics of America. And so we want to make sure that our ad units represent that as well.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to over-rotate and be virtue signaling, but we want to make sure it represents everyone and they can see themselves in our brand.
Yeah.
So that's really how we think about it and talk about it from that angle. On our site, we do take pride in trying to showcase different underrepresented communities. When we have a supplier that is underrepresented, we want to make sure people that want to find them can find those products easily. In terms of our team and our talent, we want a very diverse team. We want diversity of thought, diversity of experiences, right? Diversity demographically, because similar to our customer base, it's diverse. Mm-hmm. So we want our teams to represent the diverse thinking that our customer communities represent as well.
It's amazing.
And so we put a lot into that and making sure that if you are an underrepresented group, you can be successful at Wayfair, that you feel welcome, that the way of working, the way we interview people accounts for their different upbringing and their different education systems that they came through and all of that. So it's something that the job's never done, right? We are thinking about it a lot. We're talking about it a lot. We're trying to, focus on different use cases where we need to, up our game as it relates to DEI, both on both sides, the marketing side, but also the organization side as well.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Well, I just can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your busy schedule and sharing your words of wisdom and experience. It's amazing. 10 years experience at Wayfair, seeing just incredible rise in the impact, and I feel like what you all have established is quite amazing and impressive. So thanks for sharing a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of innovation as well, and great to meet you.
Yeah, great to meet you, Ryan.
Yeah,
Thanks for
appreciate
this.
it. Yeah, thank you.